Development of Tom Clancy's The Division 2 has slowly ramped up over 2022, with continued seasons, a new game mode, new gear, weapons, and another new game mode on its way in 2023. But with all of its triumphs over the last year, there have definitely been many downs and a fair few bugs and delays. So, in this video, I asked the question, should you play Tom Clancy's The Division 2 in 2023? First, a thank you to my supporters over on Patreon, more on how you can support at the end of the video.
I never pictured my first trip to DC would be like this. After we survived the initial attack in New York, our capital needed us. But with the country slipping into civil war, who can we trust?
After months of resilience, we have survived the virus outbreak that crippled our country.
Outside those walls, it's perdition. And whatever you're doing out there, we're not feeling it in here.
But the fight to save our nation from total collapse is far from over.
Get down! Everybody get down!
Ruthless factions threaten to destroy the very fabric of our democracy. Roving packs of hyenas, religious outcasts, and depraved fascists prey on the weak and murder the innocent. For Division agents still struggling to hold this country together, it's time we kick our enemies out of their castles. We will not compromise. We will never surrender.
This is our defining moment. Our chance to take back our country. Our chance to shape history.
Terminate any Division agents with extreme prejudice.
Hello, I'm Abrax, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at The Division 2, talking about the cost, gameplay, content, the current player base, and how the future support is looking for the game. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is a third-person looter shooter developed by Massive Entertainment and published by Ubisoft, released on the 12th of March 2019. The Division 2 puts you in the shoes of a Division agent, a sleeper agent activated as society collapses and all else has failed. Your objective is saving what remains of Washington DC 6 months after the outbreak of the dollar flu, a genetically engineered virus that has overrun most of the world. Currently, The Division 2 is available on most platforms, so there is a good chance if this game sounds good to you, you probably have the tech to run it. On consoles, you can pick up The Division 2 on Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Or if you're a PC player like myself, it's currently available on Ubisoft Connect, Epic Play Store, and Steam, but if it's anything like The Division 1, this is pretty much just an extra step to launch Ubisoft Connect. So, pricing. At launch, The Division 2 came out at a standard price of $49.99, but the game is currently 4 years old, so I would seriously think twice about picking it up at full price. And the game goes on offer on a pretty regular basis. There is also the Warlords of New York expansion that I would highly recommend picking up in a bundle with the main game, but at full price, this comes at $66.99, which I wouldn't recommend at this price. To give you an example of the kind of price you could expect to pay, as I script this video, on the Ubisoft PC store the base game is only £7.80, and the bundle including the expansion is £15. The Ultimate Edition with a few more cosmetics is only £20 10p, so I would wait and definitely pick it up on offer. This is the kind of price I would expect you to pay, to be honest, and if you're a new player for this price, you're getting a solid amount of content. When it comes to additional purchases and the dreaded microtransactions, The Division 2 isn't too bad. There is a premium currency in an in-game cosmetic store if that's what you're into, but most of the items in store can actually be earned through gameplay and a bit of grinding if you don't mind it. If you decide to pick up the game with the expansion, at the end game you'll also get access to seasons. These do have a season reward pass with a premium pass that you can pick up for 1,000 premium credits, which is about $8.99. I think it's probably worth mentioning that there is no real pay to win here. On the season track, there is extra loot, but it's nothing that you can't get without the season pass. Just extra gear and weapons with random rolls. With that in mind, let's talk gameplay and content. As I've mentioned, The Division 2 is a third-person looter-shooter, a genre that blends cover-based shooting mechanics with traditional RPG elements like loot, different attributes and rarities, character leveling, and inventory management. In The Division 2, you can get your hands on a pretty big range of real-world weapons, and some more unique exotic weapons that come with their own unique playstyle, like the run-and-gun Lady Death, with a damage buff for moving and extra movement speed on kill, or the Bullet King with a slightly lower base damage than other LMGs, but a bottomless pits for a magazine. You'll also be able to get your hands on different skills in the form of SHD skills. These are gadgets available to Division agents to give you the advantage when out on the streets. There's portable turrets, pulse scanners, a foam launcher, personal shields, and many more, but you will only be able to equip 2 at a time, so it's important to pick skills that will work with the rest of your gear. Altogether, you'll be gathering loot, equipping gear and weapons with attributes and talents that lean into how you want to play, then using skills as the finishing touch to your build. At its core, The Division 2 revolves around creating builds to help you either play how you want or help you climb through more difficult in-game content. So let's talk content. At this point in the game's life, The Division 2 has built up a good quantity of content. The game has both PvE and PvP content, however The Division 2 does lean much more towards PvE. For the sake of this section of the video, I'm going to assume that you have either picked up or you're thinking of picking up the Warlords of New York expansion. Not having the expansion at this point in the game's life does lock you off to quite a bit of content and the seasons, so for the end game, I kind of see it as a must. For PvE, The Division 2 has a 1-to-1 scale map of Washington DC, with story missions at famous landmarks, side missions, enemy control points, and smaller open world activities like stopping resource convoys or hostage rescues. With the Warlords of New York expansion, you also get Lower Manhattan as its own map. This comes with its own enemy factions, missions, control points, and more open world activities. For PvE game modes, there's the Summit, a 4-player game mode where you ascend a skyscraper for 100 floors, doing addable challenges for extra rewards. Countdown, an up to 8-player timed game mode where you take to a power plant, completing objectives to stop a meltdown and call for extraction. There is also Kenley College. This is more of an exploration mode set on a college campus, and once you've completed it once, it becomes more of a time trial area. For whatever reason though, Kenley College does open and close on a kind of odd rotation, so you can only really play it when it's open, for some reason. In 2023, there is also a roguelike game mode coming called Descent. That is going to be here sometime later this year, stripping you of all of your gear and throwing you into different mission layouts to earn some loot. For players looking for a challenge, The Division 2 offers both raids and legendary missions. There are 2 raids in-game, Iron Horse and Dark Hours. These play out by travelling through a map, fighting through boss encounters with some pretty interesting mechanics that you'll need to learn and master before you move on to the next boss. Legendaries are a few of the longer missions that already exist in-game, known as Strongholds, ramped up to 11. These are ideally played with 4 players, but they are doable solo, and if you try it solo, it can really get crazy. So obviously, plenty of PvE content, but what about the PvP crowd? Well, there is a little something here for you, but sadly it is nowhere near the PvE offering. First, there is Conflict, a 4v4 pure PvP game mode with a few different objectives you can vote on before the match starts. These range from domination, where you need to capture areas on a map, to more traditional team elimination matches. Then, of course, there is the Dark Zones. These are 12-player PvPvE areas of the map where players can fight NPCs, gather loot, then extract it before they are able to claim it. But at any time, another player can flag rogue, which means they can kill other players or cut the rope of their extraction. Either way, stealing the other player's hard-earned loot. The Dark Zones are probably what the Division franchise is the most famous for. They are still fairly active, but at this point in the game's life, they do also have their quiet spells, with the Division 2 Dark Zones not being quite as utilised as the Dark Zone in the Division 1. As you can see, there is plenty to do in-game, and I haven't even touched on collectibles, commendations, or the well-hidden hunter puzzles. For continuous content, the Warlords expansion for the Division 2 has running seasons that have weekly activities and objectives to help you get your hands on some extra loot and a few little cosmetics. Seasons do also add a little extra story to the game with the final mission of each season, but if you're worried you've missed out, these are unlockable through the free track of the Season Pass, so you won't miss any major story beats. So, how active is the game? When it comes to the current player base, I play on PC, so it's hard for me to comment on console, but currently on PC, the game seems to be very healthy, especially since the game launched on Steam earlier this year, which caused a boom of new players. Matchmaking is still pretty quick on PC, and there is a range of different Discord communities and content creators supporting the game. Currently, future support for the game is looking pretty good. Not long ago, the game was on the verge of entering maintenance mode and losing all support, but a new team has been formed with the goal of creating content for Year 4, which we're currently in, and content for Year 5, which we are about to enter. Over the last year, we've seen new seasons, weapons, gear, and a huge amount of quality of life changes, and Year 5 promises a new game mode, season story, and overhauls of some of the game's systems, like the specializations. So right now, future support, it's looking pretty good. Alright, time to boil it all down and answer the question, should you play The Division 2 in 2023? If you haven't played the game before and you're wondering if it's worth a first time pickup, then I'd definitely say yes. For new players, the game has a ton of story, content, and loot to grind, with some solid endgame goals being the raids and the legendaries. If you're thinking of getting back into the game after a break, things are finally starting to ramp up with development. The story is starting to advance, new content is on its way, and there's plenty of new gear and weapons and exotics to mess around with, especially if you're into build theory crafting. 2023 is lining up to be a pretty good year for the game, so I'd say The Division 2 is worth a play. However, this many years into the game's life, I would still recommend picking it up on sale with the Warlords of New York expansion. It's on sale at a regular basis, so if it's currently full price, I would recommend holding off, waiting. I can guarantee you will get it for a solid price. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, giving it a like helps other people find it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. As always, a big thank you to my supporters over on Patreon, and if you would like to join them, you can support the channel for as little as £1 a month. You'll find a link for that in the description below. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.